Hello everyone, I'm NPC Nate, and today I want to talk about a new MMO called Fractured Online. First of all, even though it's an MMO, it's really more of an online isometric survival crafter with city control mechanics, kind of like New World where a group or guild will control a city and can be attacked by other cities. A lot of people are comparing this game to Ultima Online, which I've never played, but I've definitely heard this game compared to it, sometimes favorably, sometimes less so. Fractured does have a few of its own unique ideas, however. First of all, there are 3 races, although only 2 are available at this point in development. Each race has their own planet and PvP rules. The animal race are for PvE only. Demons, which are not available yet, are for free PvP, and humans are for both PvE and PvP with a criminal system. Another interesting idea is that skills are earned by defeating enemies that have those skills. For instance, if you want a battle jump skill used by the wolf spider, you will need to defeat wolf spiders until you unlock the skill. Each enemy defeated will give you knowledge points on that enemy, and skills are unlocked at certain levels of knowledge gained about that enemy. I've seen a lot of mixed feelings on this game so far, but I think it has a ton of potential, and I think a lot of negative sentiments concerning this game stem from the fact that it's an early access and it's nowhere near finished. Fractured Online is still very early in development, and there's definitely a ton of bugs in the game right now. At the time of making this video, it has mixed reviews on Steam, and most of the negative reviews I've seen are complaints about bugs or the game being broken in some way or another. I personally can attest to a few bugs myself. The first being, when I very first made my character, I got an error saying character creation failed, so I hit the create character button again, at which point it made 2 copies of my character. Not a big deal at all, but definitely an interesting intro to the game for me. Once I got out into the world, I started having a good bit of fun. I found combat and gathering to be enjoyable. The graphics are okay. The world and the enemies look pretty good. One thing I quickly realized is that I needed to get into a new town. The crafting stations in the starter town didn't work for me at all. I couldn't smelt ore or cut wood. When I tried, I would get a message saying I had no permissions to use these stations. So at that point, I went from town to town for a while, trying to see who was active. That's when I discovered a lot of towns are already dead. To become a citizen of a town, you have to apply for citizenship at the town hall, and then the governor or vice governor of the town has to accept your application. I saw several towns with long lists of citizen applications and no management around to accept them. So I turned to recruitment chat and I saw a town actively recruiting, and I joined them. However, even as a citizen of the town, I still couldn't use the smelters or woodcutting stations anywhere. I asked other players and learned that many players have no access to these things, which locks them out of a huge aspect of the game, unless they have their own plot to build their own craft stations on. I don't think this is a huge deal so early into early access, but this will definitely need fixed before launch. This brings me to another main point I wanted to discuss, which is the almost complete lack of free build. For those that don't know, when I say free build, I mean the ability to build anything, anywhere, which you see in games like Valheim. Fractured Online has predetermined areas where you can build towns that you have claimed or a house on a plot that you own. This means that there is much less room for creativity and turns building into just another grind where you have to farm and deliver materials like wood and stone. It's not a huge deal to me, and building can still be fun, but definitely nowhere near as fun as free building. Speaking of delivering materials, I just want to mention something I do really like, which is the cart system. In this game, you have a hand cart, which is pulled by hand and has a smaller inventory, or a wagon, which you must be mounted to pull and which has a much larger inventory. I think this is a really cool system, and it also highlights the road system. There are dirt roads and paved roads in the game, and you travel slowest through the wilderness, a bit faster on dirt roads, and fastest on paved roads. This means that when you're pulling a cart or wagon, you really want to pay attention to which roads you want to take to get where you're going as quickly as possible. I think this is a really cool system in general and have really enjoyed it so far. Now, I'd like to talk about PvE and PvP content. I haven't gotten very far in PvE content, but what I've seen is really cool. You can spend hours wandering around fighting various enemies, gaining knowledge and skills, or you could go to a combat hotspot and discover things like bandit camps, where you can earn a good bit of gold and face some really tough enemies. I'm not sure yet how intense PvE in this game can really get, but I've definitely had my fair share of close calls with enemies that were way too tough for me. The world does have some varying biomes with different kinds of plants, animals, and enemies in each biome. So exploring the world or playing as different races on the different planets can be really rewarding. As far as PvP goes, I have witnessed one siege so far, where a nearby town attacked our town, and it seemed to work much the same way as it does in New World. War was declared, a time and date were set, and people signed up to attack or defend. Once the siege started, all non-participants were teleported to the nearest other town, and our town was blocked off from the outside world. The siege lasted half an hour, and I'm pleased to say my town won the fight, even though I didn't help at all. Or maybe because I didn't help at all, I'm not sure. Either way, it seems as though there's plenty of both PvE and PvP content in the game already, with more on the way with a future edition of the Demon Race and their planet, as well as Stargates, which will allow players to travel to other planets. Overall, I'd say that this game has a ton of potential, and what's there now is very fun. If you like games like Ultima Online, you'll probably like this one, but keep in mind this is very early in its early access days, and with the cheapest box price being $25.99, I wouldn't say it's necessarily worth it at this moment. Now, if you're just too excited to jump in and get started, then by all means, go for it. But if you're looking for a finished and polished product, I would recommend waiting for a while. Maybe not all the way till launch, but at least a little while down the road. This game still has a long ways to go. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video or this type of content in general, please consider liking the video and possibly even subscribing. I would really appreciate it. If you want to keep up with me and what I'm working on, you can follow me on Twitter or join my Guilded server. Links are in the video description. Also, the best way to support my channel monetarily is by subscribing directly to my Guilded server, which unlocks some perks for you as well. So please check that out if you want to support me or my channel. As always, thank you, and I hope to see you around.